Hello and welcome to Elisabeth Hogarth Designs and happy Easter. Today I'm going to be making a card using a new Betterpress plate that I bought at the end of Lent, and today is Easter Day, so I'm now able to use this. This is the Mirrored Arch Nested Sprigs Betterpress plate, and as you can see it consists of an outer layer with a coordinating die set called the Mirrored Arch labels. So the labels themselves can be used alongside the Betterpress to build up your layers. So here you've got the nested sprigs, and then you can use these smaller Mirrored Arch labels to use these inner frames because they are the same shape. I'm going to be using one of my older Betterpress, the Every Occasion letter T, which says thank you, and I discovered that these letters fit inside the Mirrored Arch labels and frames, so it's no coincidence that Spellbinders are bringing out these ranges to complement one another. This is the card that we're going to be making. It's a simple easel card, and I've prepared the Betterpress system. If you haven't seen how I set this up, I'll leave you the link for the video, and I'm going to be using one shade of VersaFine Clair, which is the Shady Lane. So to keep this card classy, we're going with one colour palette, and I'm going to begin by printing all of my frames. So I'm going to need 3 of these nested sprig outer frames. One is for the back of the card, and then 2 of them will be slightly smaller and coloured in. More will become clear later. So I'm using the VersaFine Clair Shady Lane because I like the shade of green, and I haven't got a whole range of the Betterpress inks yet, but I don't find there to be any problem using other inks, and I've got a wider range of colours in the VersaFine Clair, so do experiment and use what you have around you. I've got some watercolour print card, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine at a very slow pace, and I'll leave this in real time so that you can see the speed of it. And we're rolling through the platen to make sure that the 2 plates kiss one another and the ink is beautifully dispersed. I find that I achieve beautiful results every single time with the Betterpress. I think it is an outstanding tool, and I really like the range of plates that Spellbinders are bringing out. So here you can see first time through, and we've got a perfect result. So I'm going to run this through 2 more times and create 3 frames in total. So for prints 2 and 3, I'm using the first of the inner dies, and it nests securely inside. It's got a very detailed circular frame, and this will add a little definition to the finished card. Next I'm going to use the letter T from the Every Occasion Floral Sentiments, and I really like these plates because you can use the letters individually, or you can include the word that sits snugly within the design. Here I have inserted it inside the circular nested sprig frame, and they work really well together, and this will form the centerpiece of the card. The final bit of printing includes the 2 nested frames and the sentiment "You are the best" from the Nested Sprigs. So again, I'm inking it up and running it through my die cutting machine very gently, and once again perfect results every time. So that's all the inking ready. Now we need to work on the easel card and the frames. First I'm using the outer die, which measures 4.5 inches in diameter. This will form the back of the easel card, and alongside that, because I'm using the Big Shot Plus, I can cut two at once. I'm using the 3-inch die to cut the thank you topper. Next I'm using the 3-inch die to cut the inside topper, and the 4.25-inch die will be used to cut the two backgrounds that I'm then going to colour in. Next I'm going to use the 4.5-inch outer die to create the card blank. So I've used a 6-inch card, and you can see that I've placed the die slightly over the fold to create the base of the easel card. And then I'm going to use a 6-inch piece of card, and I'm going to cut a complete base, and then this will be adhered to the fold at the front. I'm using a scoring tool to halve the front of the card, so round about the 3-inch mark I'm going to create a score line. This will create a fold for the easel card, and then I'm going to take the larger panel that we've die cut out, and this will be glued to the lower half of the card blank to create a simple frame for the easel card. So that is your shaped card blank ready to go. Next we're going to move on to a little bit of colouring. I'm using everyday colouring pens. These are ink lilies, I think, and I've got different shades of green. This is the light up magnifying glass that I use. I'm long sighted, so it's quite hard for me to see these details, but I wanted you to see the tool that I use when I'm colouring by myself. I realise that it doesn't make for a very easy experience when you're watching it on camera, but I wanted you to see how I work when I'm creating these cards. So all I'm doing is using the various shades of green. I'm keeping it very random. The design is quite detailed, and I think another time I would probably use a finer pen or pencil, but I quite like, it's like an impressionist colouring of the sprigs. So all I'm doing is working around with the random greens, just adding layers of light and dark ink, and then I will come back in later with some glitter to zhuzh it up a little bit. I also added the same colour palette to the floral elements of the thank you topper, and all that's left for me to do now is to add some foam tape to the main toppers. So this will lift up the frames as I add them to the card. To pull the whole design together, I decided to ink up the edges of all of the die cuts, and I'm using Distress Oxide shabby shutters. So it only takes a few moments to add this extra layer of colour, but it really pulls the whole card together. All the elements are ready, so we can now put the card together. So I'm starting with the front of the card, and this is the larger of the frames. Then I'm using one of the coloured toppers with the foam tape on, and this will be the background of the card, and I'm lining up the pattern of the outside frame and the inside frame. We're then moving on to the thank you topper, and then I'm going to flip the card to the reverse, and again I'm adding the coloured background, and then I'm bringing in the main inside topper. It's a relatively simple card to put together, but it's very elegant. And to give it some extra glamour, I'm adding seafoam stickles just to tie in all the shades of green. It's quite a spring-like card, and you don't really need to add lots of colour when you've got such wonderful designs to work with. So I'm working my way round the front and the base, adding random elements of glitter, and then finally I'm bringing in some complementing green sequins and adding them into a wonky triangle shape, just to draw your eye around the card. So here we have the finished easel card using the mirrored arch nested sprigs, and I think you'll agree it's a really pretty, elegant and versatile collection to work with. I'm sure I'll be making some more cards with these designs. I think the next time I'll use the horizontal side of the card with another letter. Thank you for joining me again today, and until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye for now.